All right, so you wanted to get into this whole drone strike thing near Haifa, figure out why it's such a big deal. And you're right, there's a lot to unpack here. 40 people injured, no alarms, Hezbollah claiming responsibility. It gets kind of murky, with all the noise surrounding these kinds of events. Good thing we've got our expert here, though, right? Ready to help us break it all down.
Absolutely. And I think it's important to look beyond just what happened. This event, it kind of tells us something about where things might be going in this conflict?
Yeah, no, for sure. Because this wasn't just some random drone. Eyewitnesses are saying it actually fired a missile before it exploded near what Hezbollah says was a military camp.
See, that detail right there, that's huge. First off, are we really thinking a drone just waltzed past Israel's defenses like that? Those are some of the tightest in the world. That's almost unheard of. Makes you wonder if there are some vulnerabilities there, even for a military as advanced as Israel.
And you're right about it not just being any drone strike. Sounds like Hezbollah was trying to do some real damage here. This wasn't just about getting a drone into their airspace. This was a targeted hit. We're talking missile, detonation, the whole 9 yards.
Exactly. This level of planning, the sophistication, we haven't seen that in previous drone attacks. It's almost like they're sending a message.
Which kind of leads us to the big question, right? Why Haifa? Why go for that spot specifically, even if it was near some military camp?
And this is where understanding how Hezbollah operates, their strategy, that's key. See, Haifa isn't just another city on the map. You've got key Israeli naval bases there, oil depots, high-value targets that could inflict some serious damage if you hit them right.
Strategically important, yeah. But what makes Haifa, like, stand out from other targets? Why not somewhere else?
Because Hezbollah knows, right? A direct hit on those assets, that's basically a declaration of war. Probably not what they want right now. But by hitting near Haifa, it's a densely populated area, kind of mirrors Hezbollah's own backyard in Beirut's southern suburbs. They hit there, they create pressure.
So, like, reminding Israel that this conflict has a human cost, and Hezbollah can bring that cost home.
Exactly. It's calculated. They inflict some damage, play on that psychological vulnerability, but they're avoiding an all-out war while they do it.
It makes you think twice about those early reports.
Yeah.
The one saying Hezbollah was pretty much down for the count.
Yeah, I mean, this attack kind of throws a wrench in that theory, doesn't it? Shows they've still got some tricks up their sleeve, capabilities that maybe we didn't fully appreciate. And it's not even just the attack itself, it's how they pulled it off.
Right, because these weren't exactly drones flown in from some, like, shadowy supplier, right? These are homegrown. Kind of unsettling when you think about it.
Huge tactical advantage. Gives them flexibility, deniability. They don't have to rely on anyone else. No vulnerable supply chains to worry about.
You mentioned Haifa being, like, strategically important, but it seems like there might be another reason, a deeper reason why they went for that spot.
Yeah, you're picking up on it. So Haifa, you've got your Israeli naval bases there, oil depots, even chemical plants. We're topping high-value targets, the kind that would be seriously bad news if they took a direct hit.
But they didn't hit those directly, did they? They went for somewhere nearby.
And that's the thing, right? Hezbollah, they're not dumb. They know a direct hit on something that important. That's practically starting a war right there. Probably not their goal, at least not yet. So instead, they hit near Haifa. Highly populated area, kind of reminds you of Hezbollah's own territory in Beirut's southern suburbs, right? Create that pressure, that unease.
A reminder that this whole thing, it has a human cost. And Hezbollah can bring it right to their doorstep.
Exactly. Calculated move, inflict some damage, play on those fears, but all without diving headfirst into a full-blown war.
This isn't even happening in a vacuum, is it? I mean, you've got all these high-level Iranian officials. They've been making trips to Lebanon, publicly backing Hezbollah. Actually, this whole thing went down like, 24 hours after the Iranian parliament speaker was there? Talk about timing.
And you don't just stumble into timing like that. This is a calculated move, part of a much bigger game. It's like Iran, they're trying to manage things, keep a lid on it, but they're also making it clear they've got their allies' backs. This isn't just about Lebanon and Israel anymore, is it? It's a reminder that everything's connected. What happens here, it ripples out. Things could escalate quickly.
So Hezbollah is sending a message loud and clear. They're not out of the fight, not even close. But what about Israel? This was about getting a reaction. How do they even respond to this, especially when their own defense minister, he just publicly said they were crippling Hezbollah? Talk about awkward.
Yeah, not a good look, is it? And it kind of highlights this fundamental shift in the rules of engagement. This attack, the fact that Hezbollah can just hit things when they want, it changes the whole game.
So they're stuck. Right. Retaliate, go all in and you risk a war, but show any hesitation, and it looks like you're weak.
And neither option is a good one, is it? Full-scale conflict, that's devastating for everyone. Unpredictable, too. Who knows what happens then? But then holding back, that has its own risks, could look like weakness. And what happens then? Hezbollah, they get bolder.
So where do we even go from here?
This is where that whole balance of battlefield idea comes
The
in.
balance of battlefield. Okay, now that sounds kind of ominous. What does that even mean? Okay, balance of battlefield. Ominous is right. So what's that mean, like, in this situation?
So basically, Hezbollah knows it can't win a straight-up air war against Israel, right? Too much firepower, so what do? They try to drag Israel into a ground fight. Somewhere they have the advantage. Think about it. Hezbollah, they're a guerrilla force, right? 2006 Lebanon war, that was their bread and butter. They know that terrain like the back of their hand. They've got local support. Israel, they can't replicate that no matter how much firepower they bring.
So Hezbollah is trying to make Israel play on their terms. This drone strike, all these calculated attacks, it's all to provoke that response, drag them into a ground war.
It's definitely a possibility. And that's what makes Israel's next move so tricky. Go in with ground forces knowing that's exactly what Hezbollah might want, or try to find another way to respond, even if it risks looking weak. There's no easy answer.
Man, talk about a no-win situation. It's wild, isn't it? Like something as seemingly small as this drone strike, it suddenly feels like a much bigger deal. Like we're seeing where this whole conflict might be headed.
Oh, absolutely. And that's the thing people miss. We get caught up in the headlines, the immediate stuff, but we got to look deeper. This attack, it was calculated. Hezbollah, they had a plan. They're thinking long term. And it shows just how easily things could spiral out of control.
So for those of us who aren't like military strategists, what's the takeaway here? What does this all really mean?
It means just because something seems small doesn't mean it is. These events, they matter. They give us clues about the bigger picture if you know where to look.
And what we're seeing here is that Hezbollah, they're not just capable of pulling off these attacks, these sophisticated attacks, but they're playing a long game. They've got a strategy.
Exactly. And if we want to understand what happens next, we got to understand them, their motives, the tactics. It all matters.
Makes you wonder, though, if this is how they respond when people think they're weak, what happens next? What does that message say to Israel, to their allies?
$1 million question,
Yeah.
right? And honestly, nobody knows for sure, but at least we're asking the right questions. We're looking beyond the surface. And that's what matters.
That's what we try to do here, get past those headlines, really dig into these complex situations with you. All right, everyone, that's all the time we have for this deep dive. Until next time, stay curious,